What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got some fresh updates, and a few big names have really been turning heads over the past couple of weeks. Before we jump in, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of the breakdowns. And of course, drop your thoughts in the comments. Your take is part of what makes these videos great. Alright, let's get straight into the news. The first major update involves Martin Fitzwater, and what was supposed to be just another physique check-in quickly turned into a real cause for concern. He basically went into ghost mode. No detailed posing, no full physique video, just one quick, subtle image. And that alone was enough to raise eyebrows. When an athlete at this level suddenly limits how much of their physique they showed during prep, something different is definitely going on. The core issue here seems to be a complete shift in strategy. Martin has always been known for running minimal cardio and keeping carbs high all the way until he dialed in conditioning. Now, it's the total opposite, zero carbs and a heavy cardio load. That kind of drastic switch usually means the body isn't responding the way it used to. And when an athlete has to flip their entire approach mid-prep, it's often because the original plan stopped delivering. Visually, what stood out most was how extremely flat he looked. The fullness that used to define his look seemed noticeably reduced. Shoulders not as round, arms lacking their usual density, and an overall thinner appearance. This doesn't look like just a missing pump from being between meals. It feels like deep depletion. And maybe the most concerning detail is in his face. Drawn features, sunken look, clear signs of physical stress. Now, yes, there's a chance this is all part of a calculated move. A lot of competitors run aggressive depletion phases before a carb up to bring back that round, full look in the final days. But that's a very fine line. Push depletion too far, and you're not just losing water. You risk actual muscle tissue loss. And regaining that in a short window is extremely difficult. This is a pivotal moment. The big question is simple. Can he refill, regain fullness, and show up on stage looking complete and powerful? Or has he already crossed the safe line in this prep? Now let's talk about Sam Sulek. He was in what looked like a stagnant phase for a while, but then he surprised everyone with clear, consistent progress. After weeks where not much seemed to change, he finally revealed a physique that looks fuller and noticeably sharper. And here's the key part. This isn't just good lighting or a quick pump. You can see it even under natural lighting. That kind of improvement can't be faked. The biggest changes show up in muscle volume and overall quality. Sam's physique looks more solid from every angle, with denser muscle and a harder texture. Conditioning hasn't dramatically shifted, but the body looks more mature, like it's finally hitting that sweet spot between size and leanness. That alone makes him look more credible and competitive for classic physique. Another standout factor is how consistent his fullness is. Even though he's not at peak weak condition yet, he's maintaining round, separated muscle bellies. That's rare. A lot of competitors only look that full in the final days leading into a show. And the fact that Sam reached this level without a recent coaching change shows he has a strong understanding of how his body responds. Of course, no athlete is flawless. One area that still stands out is overall structure. Sam has a very solid physique, but it's not extremely wide or dramatically tapered compared to the top-tier aesthetic standards in classic physique. That doesn't take him out of contention, but it could place him slightly behind athletes with more exaggerated proportions. Overall, this is probably the best version of Sam Sulek we've seen so far. He's solid, hard, full, and consistent. Exactly what you want from someone who's seriously positioning himself to enter the upper tier of classic physique competition. The third major update today revolves around a name that always sparks debate: Sergey Danilov. He recently claimed to be weighing in at 160 kilograms. That's about 352 pounds. Just hearing that number sounds insane. We're talking about a body weight that would, at least on paper, put him above several of the biggest open competitors in the sport right now. If that number is accurate, he'd technically be heavier than guys like Samson Dauda at similar points in their offseason. And that naturally invites comparisons. Sergey is tall, with a big frame, which helps distribute that kind of mass. But still, 160 kilograms, or 352 pounds, is extreme even by modern professional bodybuilding standards. What makes it more controversial is his history of bold statements. Sergey has openly talked about very aggressive protocols in the past, including extremely high growth hormone usage and even previous heart-related issues. There's no official confirmation on those details, which makes it hard to separate fact from hype. Is this raw transparency, or is it part of building attention around his name? When you compare him to athletes of similar height, like Quinton Area, the numbers get even more interesting. Quinton rarely pushed beyond the 330 to 340 pounds range, around 150 to 154 kilograms, in the off-season. Sergey, on the other hand, claims to be well above 350. That places him in very rare territory within the open division. Another important factor is that he recently underwent hernia surgery, which explains the more relaxed midsection we've seen lately. Even so, the bigger question remains. Even if the scale is telling the truth, how sustainable is this? In modern bodybuilding, size definitely matters, but longevity and body control still separate contenders from cautionary tales. Is this the next evolution of mass, or is it pushing the limits too far? The next big update puts Andrew Jacked squarely in the spotlight. He was recently seen stepping into a cryotherapy chamber, and even without directly posing for the camera, the visual impact was immediate. Just walking, you could already see the sheer size he's bringing into this prep. The first thing that jumps out is his back. It looks wider and thicker than ever, creating a dominant silhouette. His shoulders are extremely round and full, giving him that 3D look that judges in the open division love. And considering he's less than 2 weeks out from the show, his conditioning already looks solid and controlled. One major confidence boost for his fans is the fact that he's being prepped by Chris Aceto. That almost guarantees a well-calculated peak. With the right final adjustments during peak week, it's very likely Andrew steps on stage even drier and fuller than what we've seen in recent footage. From a competitive standpoint, a top 2 finish at the Arnold Classic looks highly realistic. Depending on how the lineup shows up, a win isn't out of the question. Andrew has shown consistent improvement from show to show, always bringing more density, more refinement, or better overall balance. If this progression continues, he's not just a strong Arnold contender. He could become a legitimate Mr. Olympia threat in the coming years. The structure is there. The size is there. The evolution is clear. The real question now is simple. Are we watching another elite athlete, or the early stages of a future champion? Now we move to the name that naturally carries massive expectations, Samson Dauda. During the 2026 offseason, he appeared absolutely enormous. The number circulating as his target weight was 350 pounds, roughly 158.7 kilograms. But what's most impressive isn't just the number on the scale. It's the visual quality he's maintaining at that size. Even in the off-season, he looks more conditioned than many athletes do at similar body weights. His arms are unbelievably full and dense, with visible vascularity. From the side, the thickness is what really stands out. The distance between chest and back creates a dramatic 3D effect. This isn't just mass for the sake of mass. It's mass built on structure. Interestingly, he stopped publicly confirming his weight in recent updates. Still, visually, the physique looks mature. More compact, more solid, more controlled. It doesn't have that sloppy, uncontrolled off-season look. It seems like he's growing into the weight rather than just piling it on. The strategy also seems crystal clear. Full focus on the Mr. Olympia. No packed competition schedule before the main stage. The plan appears simple. Conserve energy, fine-tune the details, and show up at the Olympia in peak condition to fight for the title again. To wrap up the video, we've got one of the most surprising updates of all. Blessing Awodibu is back in the conversation, and this time, for the right reasons. After what many considered a very disappointing showing in the past, a lot of people started questioning whether he could truly bounce back at the pro level. His physique didn't respond the way it needed to, the size looked uncontrolled, and the final result fell short of expectations. Following that rough phase, Blessing split from Stefan Kienzl, briefly worked with Justin J, and now has reunited with George Farah. That move may have been the turning point. The new direction appears more calculated and conservative, and you can already see those adjustments reflected in how he looks right now. His physique is noticeably fuller, but without that exaggerated, bloated look that throws off lines and flow. Conditioning is clearly sharper, and the way he's managing size seems far more strategic. It's not just about being bigger anymore. It's about being more polished, more stage-ready, and more competitive. There's a better balance now between muscle mass and definition. This current look strongly resembles the package he brought when he won the Indy Pro and when he made serious noise at the New York Pro. The density is back. The structure looks tighter and more aligned. Overall, he just looks more confident. There's no official announcement yet about his next show, but the progress is undeniable. Blessing once again looks like a legitimate contender. Of course, there are still refinements to be made. That's part of the process. But the trajectory finally feels right. The big question now is simple. Can he turn this momentum into a real win on stage? Because if this rate of improvement continues, Blessing's name could quickly re-enter the discussion among the top athletes in the division.